try and mute them.
Hello, Rex. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine too, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview you.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
So, friends, we have Rex here. So, let me give a short brief about him. So, Rex Steven Sikes founded Idea Seminars and is the creator of Mind Design, the Attitude Activator, and Directed Questions. He is dedicated 4 decades to helping countless thousands of people transform their minds and lives. Rex is an authority on abundance and the law of attraction, the science of mind, Napoleon Hill, whole brain and accelerated learning, meditation, and more. So, Rex uses ancient wisdom and leading edge methods to facilitate amazing life changes and transformation. So, let us hear more about Rex in his own words. So, Rex, 4 decades, like it's quite a journey, Rex. So, how did you get into this uh, training and coaching? Please share something about your journey.
Well, yeah, I actually think I was born for this. I mean, it sounds weird. I don't mean that there was like, some divine intervention or anything like that. But from very early on, I have always felt that some form of mystical connection. My parents put me into acting and dancing classes when I was about 3, in performance,
Oh,
which I
wow.
enjoyed. By the time I was 6, I wanted to be a mystic. They raised me as a
Really?
Catholic. Yeah, they raised
At
me
the
as
age
a
of
Catholic.
6?
Huh?
At the age of 6, you want to be a mystic.
They raised me Catholic. Neither of my parents were Catholic, but my grandmother was, and she insisted that the children be raised Catholic. So they raised us Catholic,
Mhm.
and of course we had to go to mass, every day in school and on Sundays. And so I thought there was this mystical connection. And that time they spoke Latin. We didn't even have an English mass. I didn't understand anything. I just thought it was very mystical, and there was a lot of ceremony. And I thought this guy has a connection with God. That's what I want.
Okay.
So I asked my mom to read me books like the Bhagavad Gita,
Wow.
Napoleon Hill, Eastern and Khalil Gibran, and Eastern and Western mystics, and so I would sit on her lap and she would read these books. And I would, at night kind of pray or meditate in my own way. I didn't understand anything. But about the time I was 11, obviously I could then read. And so I started reading books on hypnosis and self-hypnosis and meditation on my own. And I started practicing then. I went through my teenage years kind of bullied as an oddball kid. I became a very devout Christian about the age of 15 and ended up starting a big church in California with other people and a theater because I was still involved in acting. It was a Christian theater, and traveled around doing healing circuits and whatever you want to call it, sermons. And then around the age of 19, 20, 21, I had an experience that led me away from that church and into really like agnosticism. I was like, I don't know what the truth is.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is. I started to explore Hinduism and Buddhism more in depth, and Jainism and Taoism, and I didn't gravitate much toward the Western mystics as much, but I did definitely toward the Eastern. And so I started to seek out different religious leaders or meditative people. Then I had a personal crisis around 25, and nearly died. I actually did try and take my life. I had a doctor misprescribed pills, and ended up with amnesia for a long period of time, and lost all my friends, lost my career, lost a girlfriend, lost all my money. I mean, just everything. It's taken everything. So when I came out of that, and when I started I remembered I didn't remember anything. I didn't know what had happened. I decided to lock myself in my apartment, and I wouldn't leave until I could face the world and win my friends back, or at least be able to go to breakfast and feel like a contributing human being. And so I did, and I went in and I started to visualize and I started to affirm and I started to meditate and I started to use hypnosis, and nothing really seemed to work. I mean, they all had some impact, but not a whole lot. And then there was a moment about 4 weeks into it where suddenly everything started to shift for me. And I had realized, this is where directed questions came from, but I started to realize that if I resisted what had gone on and tried to find out why it had happened, I only suffered more. Why did this happen to me? How come nobody likes me? You know, why am I such an idiot for doing this? If I did that, then I felt bad. But if I started to say, or if I said, how long was this going to take? Or, you know, stuff like that, I started to realize I didn't want to know what was wrong. I wanted to know what was right. So I started to say, well, what's good about me? You know, what do I need to know that will get me outside? How soon can I begin to get up and go out and meet my friends? And how quickly am I able to begin to feel good? And if I do feel good, where do I feel good? In other words, where in my body do I feel good? What kind of thoughts do I need to be thinking in order? And I realized that these questions were actually directing my mind away from what the problem was and into a new area. And so I started to direct my mind using questions in that way. And then because I had also had some experience with neurolinguistic programming, I started, you know, I came back out of this and I just started to contribute what I had learned, you know, which is, it's in the book that I write, but I mean, and I talk about it very briefly, but I started to contribute what I had learned in terms of a breakthrough for how we direct our mind, how we heal our heart, how we begin to change our behaviors, you know, and overcome things. And since then, I've just helped countless thousands in various programs or through my books or through my audio programs, things like that, or in person to get unstuck and either fall deeply in love with themselves or to meditate or apologize and to release whatever an issue is. And sorry about that. And to release whatever issues there are, and that's the office one, and to release whatever the issues are, and to move forward in their life and to make transformational changes. At that time also, I delved really deep into meditation and then lived in a commune for another 4 years on and off, going back and forth while I was doing seminars and acting in movies. But the deepest, enriching experience was living in the commune and being able to meditate every day. And we had a meditation university, and we're, you know, learning and developing all sorts of different kinds of therapies to help people get unstuck. So my life, it seems like I've always been on this path. So I love it. I enjoy it. I'm sorry for the long answer.
When you said the mishap happened and then how you recovered through all these practices is very inspiring, Rex. You're losing everything and gaining back, and you healed yourself. That's something.
And I've had, thank you, I appreciate that. I've had more than one circumstance like that where I've lost things more than once. I mean, 2 or 3 times in my life, I've kind of like been completely leveled out, but it gets easier each time. and there are people who have far more difficulty or far greater opportunities to change than I have had, you know, through all sorts of kinds of loss or devastation. And if they can do it, I could do it. And if I could do it, someone else can do it. And that's where there's incredible hope and opportunities to realize that people are changing and transforming all the time. And if you think you can't, then you certainly can, but you won't do it if you still think you can't. So it's finding that possibility that, well, maybe it could be different. As an example, there's a gentleman who I interviewed on my TV show for the Los Angeles Tribune, a guy named Michael Warkington, who was paralyzed, quadriplegic at 22, who after, you know, waking up and finding out he couldn't move his body at all, at some point said, life is too short to live as a victim. My purpose in life is to have fun and help other people. And he ended up becoming very wealthy. He travels the world in his wheelchair. He's a financial advisor, and he helps people all around the world. He didn't let it might have stopped me, to be quite honest. I mean, I could still maybe be in a bed going, woe is me, I can't believe this is my life and being miserable, but it didn't stop him. And I've met so many people like that. It's truly inspiring. So there's so many examples of people who overcome incredible adversity and go on to do incredible things with their life. And that's you, that's me, that's anyone who's listening or watching right now has that opportunity, even if it doesn't seem like it.
Thank you. Thank you for those words, Rex. It's highly motivating.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Rex, you bounced back multiple times and then went ahead, sharing your knowledge and wisdom with the world. So here is my first question about your programs that you develop. You have authored a book, Life on Your Terms. Create the life you want. So, could you please tell what exactly has motivated you to write this book with this unique title? So, could you please give the background of that and what is this book about?
Well, as you know, I've been doing this for a little over 40 years, I mean, and longer if you count my beginnings as a 6-year-old, but I've been literally teaching seminars and workshops and programs for over 40 years. I've written a number of books, some that I've published, self-published or whatever, and some I haven't. And, I published a workshop, the Ultimate NLP Home Study Course, which was an audio, video, and manual program. So I always felt that I had published books, but people say, well, you don't really have, the book or a book. I'd always wanted to help people, and I felt like, well, I'm not a huge fan of books for this reason. When people would come into my programs, if they had read one of my books or they had listened to my programs or they'd seen a video somewhere, they would come in and they would sit there waiting for me to tell some story that they were already familiar with.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then if I told the story they were familiar with, they would go, I read that in his book, or I heard that in his program. And they would miss the point of what I was talking about because they were so caught up in having this experience of, I know this already. So I resisted really putting out a book for a long time because people read a book and they put it down and they're done. It's kind of like they had a meal, they go off. But what they forget is you eat a meal a number of times a day, or at least during the week. Even if you only eat once a day or once a week, you still repeat it. So I wanted to write a book that people understood. It's like a meal. You have to digest it. You have to apply it. If you apply it and you repeat that and come back to it again and again, you'll build positive habits that will uplift you, that will move you forward, that will help you get unstuck and help you transcend and transform. If you do nothing but read it, like you watch a movie and then you turn off the TV, or you leave the movie theater, or you listen to music and you stop and you never go back to it again, then you had that experience.
Yeah.
I'm also an actor. So people would say, what's more important, the script, the screenplay, or the actor? So I would take the script and I would throw it on the floor and go, act.
Yeah.
And nothing happens. The script doesn't do anything. It takes the actor to bring the script to life. It takes you to bring the book to life.
Wow.
So my point is, it was a long time kind of in actually putting a book out there for the world in that regard, because I want people to have an experience, not just read something and go, oh, that's interesting, and then put it away. I encounter people constantly. One of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich, and anything by Osho, anything, I love Osho. So anything by Osho and other people. But so I'll ask people, have you read Think and Grow Rich? They go, yeah, I read it 20 years ago. I've read Think and Grow Rich every day since I was 11 years old. I read something about Think and Grow Rich every day. So that's 55 years.
My God.
I haven't always lived by it. I haven't always applied it. I haven't always understood it, but I always took at least one sentence or a paragraph or a page or a chapter a day to get my mind straight. And when I went through, except during that time when I went into the crisis and I wasn't reading anything, I was just, I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't do it. All of my practices dropped off. I had been misprescribed drugs from a doctor. So it created literally a drug-induced amnesia, and it should have killed me. It was a fatal combination of pills. I should be dead, and they were like, you're a walking miracle. We don't know how you're alive. But I didn't remember anything either. I could go out, I might talk to you, but I would have no memory of it, and fortunately I hurt nobody, I didn't do anything stupid, and I didn't get myself killed or in an accident, but when I realized what was happening, what happened was my parents were traveling, and my sister called and said, something's wrong with Rex. You got to get out here. They found me nearly comatose with pill bottles around me, and I had been journaling, but you couldn't read. It was just journal after journal after journal of scribbles. You couldn't read a single sentence in it. I didn't. I don't remember it, but I found these journals later, and they took all the pills and all the alcohol and everything, and they locked me in my apartment. They took at that time we had what was called a distributor cap on the car. They took it off so you couldn't move the car, and so I was kind of imprisoned in my own apartment. And at some point I jumped out the window on my head to try and kill myself. And I lived, and I was so mad that I didn't kill myself. I'm like, I can't even kill myself. I failed at killing myself. And I ran back into the house to try and do it again. And I was locked out of my own apartment. I was like, when I realized at some point that I just felt so horrible. And then I started to drink to try and resolve the guilt. I wouldn't take pills. That was the one thing I decided, the pills got me in this mess. I'm not going to do that. But I started drinking, and then I nearly drove my car off a cliff. I got into fights with people. I mean, it was really not a good thing. And a friend of mine said, "You're going to die." One night in this place, he said, and it's in my book, but he says, "You're going to die," and that's when I went, I don't really want to. I mean, I'm trying to live. I just don't know how to live. And that's when I decided I got to do something. I locked myself in the apartment and went into, I can't leave until I get this straight. So I made that commitment, and that's when I went back into my practice. So I went back into meditating and back into the hypnosis and back into the affirmations and back into the things that I knew, and they were good. But I felt such overwhelming grief, sadness, remorse, anger, self-hatred, loathing, all those different kinds of feelings, that it really started to change when I started to use the questions to direct my mind. And then I realized in doing that, and this is the key, if I say, "Where did you get your shirt?" you might have an answer. Like you could say, "I got it as a gift. I got it from the store." That's not the kind of question that you want to ask. You might say, "Do you realize how delighted you are with the shirt that you're wearing?" And you go, "No, I never thought about being delighted with the shirt I'm wearing. I just put it on every day." Well, if you were to think about being delighted, what might come to mind first? Well, I don't know. What might come to mind first? I don't know. You don't know the answer. Or if I said, "Where do you feel the best in your body right now?" Or what emotions do you feel right now that make you feel wonderful, that put a smile on your face and make you laugh or giggle? You're asking questions that you don't know the answer to, because what happens is your brain will deliver the answer. It's what we call the tip of the tongue phenomenon, where you say, "What was the name of Rex's book? What was it? It's what life? I don't know what it, and you walk away, and an hour later you go, "Oh, life on your terms." Oh, it's because the brain keeps working on it after you consciously stop working on it. You go on and do other things, but the brain keeps going. So if you honestly and sincerely and legitimately ask yourself questions like, "How incredible can I discover myself? How many talents and abilities do I have that I don't even know that I have?" Your brain will look for it. If you say, "How come I'm an idiot? Why am I so stupid? How come never anything ever works out for me?" Or "How come I never have any money?" The brain will go, "Because," it doesn't care which you use. So you want to direct it towards what you want and away from what you don't want. And that's what I discovered for myself. Questions have been around since the dawn of humankind. I didn't discover questions. But what I discovered for myself was I was asking horrible questions of myself. And I had to ask better questions. And it wasn't just like, "Am I lucky? Can I be successful? What do I need to do to be successful?" Those are all good questions, but it wasn't that. It was more of, what do I need to know that I don't know right now? Or what do I need to find out that I don't know that I need to find out?
Wow.
And allow that to open up. So in how many different ways can I put a smile on my face today? I don't know the answer to that. I have no idea. Yeah. And how many different ways could I put a smile on your face today? I don't know. It could be 1, it could be 100. Well, let me find out. Or how delighted will I be to discover that I'm really more positive than I ever thought I was? Now I'm not even asking if I am positive or not. I'm asking how delighted I'll be to discover how positive I am. Wow. So I'm directing my attention toward the experience of being delighted through a discovery of positivity. And why do I say that? Because, and I'll stop after this, but if you say, why am I so stupid? Your brain will go, well, because when you were 4, this happened, or you didn't have the right education, or this, that, and the other thing. If I say, why am I so brilliant? Your brain will say, well, because of this, this, and this. One is easier than the other for most people. And for most people, about 97% of the population, it's easier to say, why am I so stupid? Because that's the habit that most people have. But if you start asking, why am I so brilliant? Or how come I'm so brilliant? Or in how many different ways can I discover myself being brilliant? Or what's the first incredible feeling I will feel when I notice how brilliant I truly am? Your brain will find all those associations and you will start building that. And if you keep doing it repeatedly, consistently, for long enough, you'll develop that habit and that will replace the other habit. And now you've transformed yourself. You've gone from being negative or pessimistic to more optimistic and more positive. And when you do that, then your body electrochemically squirts different hormones and chemicals, and you feel better in your physical body. You have greater health and healing ability. You've got greater optimism. So you are quantitatively different and better off in all aspects of your life when you develop a positive and powerful attitude that gets you through everything. And that's what the power of questions and directing your mind does.
So Rex, you gave some a little taste of the directed questions. So does your book have this list of questions, or like
there's no list of questions. They wanted me to put out a list of questions years ago, and somebody else did, kind of took my work and did that and has done that. I didn't want to put out a list of questions because it's not important to remember a list that I give you. It's important to ask yourself the questions that you need to ask yourself in order to direct. Okay. So I share how you direct your mind. In my mind design program, I go more into it. We rehearse different questions in all of the workshops, live or online, where I can lead people through that. But it's not about having a set of questions that you memorize. It's having a set of questions that you develop. Oh. So in Mind Design or the Ultimate NLP Home Study Program, I really go more deeply into this process and how you can learn to do that for yourself.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the next,
they wanted me back in the 90s to put out an infomercial, like when Tony Robbins was doing infomercials and everything back then. They wanted an infomercial on my attitude activator and directed questions, and I turned them down because it might have been great for business for me, but what I wanted was I want people to understand what they can do. It's not about me, it's about what you can do. And if you learn the art of asking yourself positive questions that direct your mind, then the world is your oyster. If it's just something that I've given you, most people won't value that. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you give somebody a gift and they go, well, thank you very much. And then they put it on a shelf and they forget about it, like a book, So it's really taking action with it and doing it and making it your own. Then it becomes a part of you. It becomes like your own DNA. Yes. So
thank you for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking out for my dog, just me.
Okay. And Rex, your program called this Attitude Activator. What I liked this statement is the Attitude Activator is the only hypnotic process you will ever need. Whether you want to lose weight, make more money, quit smoking, develop confidence, anything. So what makes this program so unique about, what is this Attitude Activator all about?
What a beautiful question, and what a wonderful way to ask the question. There are, I'm sure there are people who are very not pleased with me for saying it may be the only one you ever need, especially if they put out tapes or audios. The reason why I say that is because, just like what I just got done saying, I didn't want to create a bunch of tapes or audio programs or CDs or whatever it is, MP4s or 3s that people had to use and had to purchase again and again and again in order to get something done. I wanted to create a template where you could, when you learned the process, you could put whatever you wanted through the process.
Okay.
It's like the difference between having a book of recipes and being a master chef. If you're a master chef, you already know the recipes, but beyond the recipes, you know that I can change these seasonings because these seasonings work well together and these don't work so well. So I can mix and match and do things and be creative with it and not just follow a recipe. Following a recipe is important because it gives you certain steps, but there's a
Yes.
point at which you want to go beyond just following steps and become creative. So, and I, in my programs, and what I'm giving away with my book right now is something called the mastery loop, which is the process of learning how to master skills. So it takes you from the moment of not knowing that you could do something to unconscious mastery or unconscious competence, you know, through this thing. But it's then going beyond that into the genius level, or what I call the aha stage, where, you know, you start to go, aha, you know, you have these eureka moments. And so with the attitude activator, I didn't want, again, to hand somebody something and go, here, use this for losing weight, use this for smoking, use this for getting up in the morning, use this for confidence, use this for, you know, relationships. I wanted to say, here's one tape. And if you learn the process, the audio program is irrelevant at that point because you've learned how to use the process to lose weight or to get up in the morning or to go to sleep at night or to, you know, continue on. And primarily what it is about learning how to get unstuck whenever you're stuck, whenever you're frustrated, angry, fearful, doubtful, worried, whatever, and move into areas of confidence, peace, joy, love, compassion, whatever you need to, so that you activate your attitude. Because as I was saying a little bit before, attitude is the #1 predictor for success. And there's when I started doing this in the early 80s, there were very few studies about this. There were about 100. Now there's thousands and thousands of them. But attitude is the #1 predictor of success in especially your attitude toward treatment of a disease in medicine. So if you think the disease, if you think the treatment will work, it's more likely to work. If you think it won't, it won't. Thereby the placebo effect, which we understand. Your beliefs matter. So I wanted to create a program where you could actually step up your beliefs. You could actually use the placebo effect, essentially, to develop the attitude that if you want to be, if attitude is not just being rah, rah, pumped up, motivated. It's you need a particular attitude when you're talking to a child and trying to get a child to understand, you know, maybe being captivated and fascinated, curious, you know, playful attitudes. It's being quiet and serene and relaxed and to be able to let go and release. It is being motivated and pumped up and supercharged and confident, but it is also being curious and being reflective. It's being assertive. There are times, if you think about an actor can go, I am going to do this, or he can say, I'm going to do this. And he can convey more sometimes being quiet than he can going, I'm going to do this.
Shout.
So,
Yeah.
so there's a range of human behaviors that a lot of people don't explore. But with the attitude activator, you can open them all up because you're using them how you choose to use it, not how I've assigned you a use.
Okay, it's like a master key.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm gonna have to take the attitude activator, the only hypnotic process you ever use. It's like a master key. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So,
I love that.
Rex, here I have a question. Let's say, I want to shift my career. Okay, I'm working in XYZ company, and next one is I want to either shift into altogether a new company or get into a new job. Now, Nizam here at the point A doesn't know what to do. Just now you said from not knowing what to do to getting to a aha moment. So here, that too you were talking about unconscious change. So I have my beliefs, I have my pre-notions that will I be able to whatsoever the drama going on in my mind. How do I convince before the event has even occurred? How do I get into this state? Is what the attitude activator is going to help people, or like, just could you please tell more about that?
Well, the attitude activator can absolutely help. I mean, like I said, people use it. People have used it for years for all sorts of things. Like one person will use it to wake up in the morning, and they will use the same program to go to sleep at night. I mean, so it's versatile in that regard, like a master key. But let me talk kind of around the question you asked, because it's an important question. And I'll quote some people in doing so. Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct, which is such a beautiful quote, because a lot of people don't think they can do something. And if they don't think you can do something, this goes back to the placebo effect and what I was saying about expectations. If you don't think you can do it, if you don't think it's possible or that it's likely for you or that you're capable of doing it, then perhaps you never will. So one of the first things that you need to do is begin to develop the attitude that I can. Now, maybe I can do that is too big of a leap. You know, so some people say, well, I've never done it. I don't know how to do it. I can't go there. Well, have you ever learned to do anything in your life? Well, the answer is, of course. You've learned to sit up, you've learned to roll over, you learned to walk, you learned to talk if you're neurologically able to do this. Most people have learned to read and write, if you know, that kind of thing. They've learned to ride a bike, skateboard, or drive a car. They've learned to feed themselves with a fork or a spoon or chopsticks. They've learned to shower. They've learned to do all sorts of things. So, and they've also learned to feel bad, feel stupid, feel inadequate, feel, you know, so we've learned both useful things and not so useful things.
Yes.
You know, and it doesn't take confidence for most people to walk across the room and turn the TV off or the stereo off or pick up the telephone or to pick up a book. You don't think about it. You just do it because you know you can do it. So you don't think, can I walk across, until you've been physically challenged. You don't have to bring your attention to it. You just go, oh, I want that. You walk over and get it. Or I'm thirsty, so you pick up a bottle of water and you drink. That's what habit is, or unconscious mastery is like. It's so automatic. You do it without thinking about it. It's there. Okay, and you've done it. So maybe the first step for a person is, I don't know how to do it yet, but I can learn the different things that I need to know in order to get started. So maybe you need to go read a book. Maybe you need to go to the library or get on the computer and do a search. Maybe you need to start filling your mind with positive affirmations or positive directed questions that get you feeling like, you know what, I could learn to do this. And if I can learn to do it, like I've learned anything else, maybe I learned to play the piano, or I learned to play the sitar, or I've learned to, you know, write poetry. Since I've learned to do those things, I can learn to do other things. I just have to apply myself in that area. And the reason why I talk about playfulness in terms of attitude is because if you make it playful and fun, you know, children learn more through play and exploration as children than they ever do in school. They have to then, you know, be tested and all this kind of stuff, but they're actual, think about everything you learned between the ages of 0 and 8 years old. And then what did you learn? You learned, be realistic. That's not real. Stop imagining invisible friends. Take this seriously. Sit in your desk. Do not fidget. Be sure you have the right answer. That's the wrong. I mean, we learned all, you know, we learned no. We learned to feel bad about not getting the right answer. So we got all this internal pressure. So what my work and what I hope to do and what in answering this question is for the person to discover that in spite of any of that stuff, you've learned so much incredible things that you can learn to shift careers or businesses, or learn to shift your feelings, or learn to change your mental thoughts, or learn to change your behaviors so that you can start doing the things that you want to be doing more of. If you want to juggle, and I use this all the time, if you want to learn to juggle, you're going to pick up some balls, and most likely you're going to throw them up and they're going to drop and they're going to be on the floor. So use square balls, don't use round balls, or you'll be chasing balls all day long, right? Use ones that just plop at your feet. Okay, so you start to juggle. Dropping balls is part of the process. And all you're doing really is throwing things up and catching them. And you've probably thrown things up and catching them all of your life. You know, if you've tossed a basketball or a baseball or a soccer ball or a rock or something, you know, you know how to catch and you know how to throw. It's just now you have to learn how to do this. And you have to learn how to do more than one at a time.
Yes.
But if you practice it, you're going to drop it. But pretty soon you're going to be able to do, like, one ball goes over here to there, to there, to there. Then 2 balls, one goes this way, one goes that way. Then probably 3 balls. Now you're starting to juggle. You've got 3 balls in the air, which a few days earlier or a week earlier or hours earlier seemed impossible. But you keep at it. Now maybe you could do 4 balls or 5 balls. You know, we think about the jugglers who you see in the circus or at the fair or busking on a corner. They make it look like really simple or really hard or something really dangerous. Like they juggle chainsaws or they juggle knives or torches. Or, you know, I always say at some point they're sitting on a chair with one leg on a tightrope, juggling, you know, a baseball bat, a chainsaw, and a bowling ball while eating a sandwich. And they're doing, you know, it's because they've mastered the skills. They've mastered these basic foundational skills by repeating them over and over again long enough until they became habit. And once they got habit that they could do the 3 balls, then to juggle a chainsaw and a bowling ball and a sandwich at the same time isn't much different.
Okay.
You know, it looks different to us who are watching it. and then they're balancing on a tightrope, but they've learned all these skills. And then what do? They start, because it's entertainment, they then have these moments of danger, like they're going to fall, they're going to do this, they're going to drop something, they're going to catch. And it's all very well rehearsed. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're unconsciously competent. The most beautiful thing is I've worked with Olympic athletes, worked with a lot of actors, worked with a lot of people. And recently we just did this Win Tour 21 with Dennis Waitley, honoring Dennis Waitley, who wrote the book, The Psychology of Performance, Psychology of Winning, sorry, but it's about performance. And in talking with him again, one of the things that he pointed out, which he pointed out a long time ago, and I pointed out a long time ago, is that athletes, when they're running in the Olympics or they're diving in the Olympics, they aren't trying to win the way that you and I think they are. They're remembering how to perform at the unconscious level. They're not consciously thinking it through. They get prepared. They're there when it's ready to take off. But then once the starting signal goes, they go into automatic behavior. They set their state, they set their mind, they set everything so that they perform optimally. And then they do their best, and they might get a gold medal or a bronze medal, or they could make a mistake, but they're not thinking about it anymore. Their body has a memory. It's unconscious competence, it's mastery at that point. And you can master anything, but the reason why athletes master those skills so well, they do them over and over and over again correctly. And that's really important, because you can practice things wrong. They do it correctly. They do it for long enough until it becomes a habit. How long does that take? Until it's a habit. That could be, most likely it's going to be a couple of months, or a year. But if you practice everything every day for a year and you practiced it right, you are so far ahead of the game. So they develop the habits for these performance habits. If you're trying to change your career and your attitude sucks, you can develop powerful performance habits of a powerful attitude that will steer you through all of your career change. And that would be the first thing. It would be mindset. So Napoleon Hill said, first, know your purpose. Know what is important to you, your definite chief aim. Make it a white hot obsession, and it's something that you really have to have, because if it's not meaningful to you, you won't stick with it. 3, develop the certainty that you're going to succeed, that no matter what comes your way, you're going to do this. It's not, will God let you do it? Will the universe let you do it? Will the banks or the government or your parents let you do it? It's, I am going to do this. If I want to be, a speaker, a college professor, I have to go through the college. I'm going to be that professor. I'm going to be that horseback rider. I'm going to be that Olympic diver. I'm going to be that author, or whatever it is. And be certain that you then use auto-suggestion, which is to repeat to yourself over and over again, affirmations, or to visualize over and over again, consistently, correctly, for long enough until it's a habit. And then lastly, to persist. So that means stick with it until you master it. And mastery takes time.
Yes.
Like when you plant a seed, if you plant celery today, you don't see celery tomorrow. You see celery whenever celery pops up and when it's ready to harvest, or roses or oranges or kiwi or whatever the fruit is, right? But in today's world, a lot of people, especially in the West, think I should have it yesterday, because we're used to our computers coming on real quick, our TVs coming on real quick. We're taught it should be fast, quick, cheap. So I shouldn't say nobody, but about 90%, 97% of the population never finishes the book that they pick up. I mean, think about that. They never finish a book they pick up. They never get financially free, because they work paycheck to paycheck, because they don't learn how to manage their money and invest it. They don't get emotionally free or mentally free, because they don't do what the people who have done do. And they look at these people, like the rich or the people who are famous or the people who are successful, and go, wow, I wish I could be that, but they don't do what those people did. Yeah. And if you look at almost every single person, if you look at almost all the people who are successful in movie business, some of them lived in their cars, some of them were homeless, they were penniless, some of them lost everything they have. There are people like Michael Worthington, lost the ability to move his body. Another person, Barry Shore, same thing. One night, fine in the daytime, that night he was a quadriplegic for years because of a rare disease that affected him. It wasn't an accident. He just woke up the next day, couldn't move. He woke up, in a hospital, a total paraplegic. I mean, get that. He's now out inspiring other people. Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, was in a concentration camp and said, you can take everything away from me, but you can't take what's between my ears. You can't take my imagination. So sadly, most people don't use their imagination to be better. They use their imagination to stay stuck or go, wow, the bank is foreclosing on my house, or I'm never going to have the career I want. And they use it negatively. So my work has always been to say, you got a choice. There's dog crap and there's diamonds. You got to choose. Do you want to stay in the dog crap, or do you want to choose diamonds? And if you choose the diamonds, there's a way to get them. And if you choose the dog crap, just keep doing what you're doing for the most part, because, So.
Still, Rex, you mentioned that people want the results like others, successful people, but they are not ready to do what the successful people have done. And you have developed a program on law of attraction. Specifically, I love the title, How to Change Your Thoughts and Transform Your Life, Dynamic Secrets to Make LOA Work. So, yes, everyone wants to enjoy the fruit, but the labor one has gone through like, yes, I also want to be like Rex, but do I know the story behind Rex? After 40 years, it's been quite a journey. So when you launch this program of law of attraction, what is the uniqueness and how to change thoughts and all that? Please tell more about the program.
It's a beautiful question, and I love the program. It's a great program. I mean, all of the programs now are on the line. I mean, anybody can enroll in a program and start whenever they want to start and go through the program. And there's, there's video, there's audio, there's, PDF support, and then support in private groups. But the point of the program is to first understand that we think of the law of attraction, we think of it as, I need to make this thing work because it's not working. And first off, that's an incorrect assumption. It's always working. It's always going, like gravity is always going. You don't one day have gravity and the next day not have gravity. Gravity always does what gravity does. Gravity attracts bodies towards, like larger bodies to attract smaller bodies. However it works, we don't completely understand it, but we have equations to describe it. Like electricity, we don't completely understand it, but we can use it. Well, the same thing with the law of attraction, which is really about, people will say, well, it's really the law of a vibration. It's really, about frequencies. I sometimes will use the word creation. It's about creating. But if you understand this, and it, some of it's like quantum physics and some of it's just hardcore science. If you throw a boomerang out, a boomerang will come back to you. Yes. A teacup doesn't come back to you. You get what you put out there. You throw it out, you come back. We hear this saying, birds of a feather flock together, is a statement that, or like minds attract, or, that kind of thing. People think of it in terms of magnets. It's not really that way. Like a magnet will attract certain things, but not other things. That's not a bad way to think about it to some extent, but it's inaccurate. What's really going on is you are, at some level, always looking out through your eyes, through your ears, through your feelings. You touch the world. You're a bag of skin and bones, where the mind is either in you or around you or separate from you. There's lots of different theories. You have a brain. You have the ability to make neural connections in your brain, which is infinitesimal in scope. We just have no idea the amount of neural connecting activities that we can make. It's the subconscious mind is just billions and billions and billions of times stronger than our conscious mind. So what is the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is your servant. It does what it does based on what it learned to do. So like we were talking before, if you learn to feel bad, you learn to insult yourself, or you learn to, have a voice inside your head or imagine bad things, that's a learning, just like learning to do anything else. I use as a metaphor or an analogy the idea of riding a horse. Okay. If you don't know how to ride a horse and you go to a stable and they give you a horse, the horse will do one of two things. Either the horse is trained to take you around a path and come back, regardless of what you do, because you don't know how to ride it, or it will just stand there and not go anywhere because you don't know how to get it going. So you're stuck either way, right? You're either stuck doing what it does, and what it does is either takes you around the path and comes back, or it doesn't move at all. But if you learn how to ride a horse, then you tell the horse where you want to go, and then it carries it out. That's what your subconscious mind is like. Your conscious mind is the person who needs to learn how to ride. Your subconscious mind is the horse. If you learn how to use your conscious mind to direct the horse, your subconscious mind, then you can get to the destination that you want. But you can't get there, like Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct. So if you don't think you're going to get there, you're not going to get there. If you don't think that you can, you're not going to. So if you think I'm broke, I'm poor, I'm not successful, I'll never be good enough, I'm not worthy, nobody loves me, I don't have the right education, I didn't come from the right family, I was born in the wrong country, I'm the wrong gender, I'm the wrong sex, I'm not tall enough, I'm too fat, if you have those things going, that's what occupies the mind. And that's what continues to be perpetuated. Because what would change if that's what you're thinking constantly? So if you want your life to change, you have to change what you're thinking. You have to send the horse in a different direction. Again, going back to directed questions, you want to direct your mind in a different way. So you want to teach the horse, I am worthy, I can have enough money, I am successful, I am loving, I am loved, people like me, I can do anything I want, I am a banker, I am a scientist, I am whatever it might be. And you direct your mind that I can learn to do these things. And when you start filling your mind with that, then that's where the horse can begin to go. I am going to have this amount of money, I'm going to live in this kind of house. But it's not just saying that I'm going to do that, because the brain doesn't get, I'm going to do that someday. The brain only thinks now. Your subconscious, that a week is from now, but your subconscious mind doesn't know a week is from now. Your subconscious mind operates today. So if you say 5 years from now, I'm going to be successful, doesn't mean anything. You can set that intention for yourself, but it's better for you to say 5 years from now, I'm successful. Now I'm going to think I am successful. I have X amount of dollars. I feel this way. And then begin to think that way, but not just think that way. It's important to feel that way. Why? Because we have a very definite connection between our head and our heart and even our gut. Then there's this vagus nerve and thing, our neurology. If you think less than glorious thoughts, meaning negative thoughts, pessimistic thoughts, it has an effect on your body chemistry, which can create disease and disorder, and it can depress the immune system and can depress the person psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and financially, okay? If you think optimistically and positively, that too affects your body chemistry. And it's the number one predictor, attitude is the number one predictor for success in health and healing, in longevity, and in every area of your life. Why I did the attitude activator is that when you're thinking positively and optimistically that I can do these things, and you're feeling good about yourself, then your body chemistry is being affected, your immune system is being affected, your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial health all can improve because you're improving. So if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. And what most people do is they perpetuate the same thing. And why do they do that? Because it's a habit for them to do it. It's the normal, we talk about thermostats in the house or, in an office building where you set a thermostat. If you set it for, in the United States, 70 degrees, it would be comfortable. If you set it for 70 degrees and it gets too cold, the heater comes on to turn it back up to 70. If it gets too hot, it shuts the heat off or turns the air conditioner on to bring it back down to 70. Well, that's what our brain does. In my book, I talk about the fact that there's no such thing as self-sabotage. And people use this term all the time, like, I sabotage myself. Well, this is a psychological nonsense. You don't sabotage yourself. I get that. We get the concept, what you're trying to say. I don't do the things I want to do. And I don't know why, so I must be screwing with myself. Well, why you're doing that is your brain is trying to keep you alive, and it thinks that what you're doing is a change that might be dangerous, which is a carryover from when we were many hundreds of thousands of years ago, growing evolution wise, in the planet. Our brain is designed for two things primarily: to keep you consistent, but that's what, to keep you consistently alive. We have a survival mechanism and a reproductive mechanism. So we want to stay alive. And the way we do that is to be what it learned to do. So, and it also does one other thing, it streamlines things so you don't have to learn the same thing over and over again. Because if every day you had to learn how to pick up a bottle of water,
No.
you wouldn't ever do anything else.
Yes.
So you learn these things, they become habits. So if you learn to feel bad, it's become a habit. If you learn to feel good, it's become a habit. If you learn to pick up a bottle of water or walk a tightrope or swim or drive a car, it's habit. So that you go through a process of learning it. But once you acquire it, you don't have to relearn it all the time.
Relearn, yes.
So it stays the same. Now you want to do something different and your brain goes, whoa, wait a second. This is dangerous because it doesn't know. So you have to educate your brain. It's okay. That's why it takes time to change, because you're re-educating your brain, your subconscious mind, you're reconditioning it from this is not a good thing, danger, 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 to, hey, you know what? This is actually a good thing. And what the brain also loves to do is it craves novelty and it loves to learn. But if it takes it as a threat, then it will go into danger, danger, danger and not do anything. So you have to educate it. No, wait. I'm adding novelty here. I'm doing something different that will be beneficial. And when the brain gets that, and how does it get it? By you reinforcing it with your thoughts and very positive feelings. If you're like going, I am so wonderful, and you feel wonderful, your brain goes, well, okay, I'll do that. But if you go, I am such a stupid person, and you're angry or frustrated, your brain goes, okay, I will do that. It takes the most prominent signals that you give it. So when we get mad repeatedly, or sad repeatedly, or frustrated repeatedly, or depressed repeatedly, brain goes, okay, I can do that. That's good. I get it. So most people are really good at those things. Again, 97% of us are really good at those things, but not so good at the other things. And the only reason why is because we're not taught to do that. Our schools don't teach us to do that. Our parents, if they don't know it, they don't teach it. We are brought up the way we're brought up, and it is what it is. You can't sit there and blame your upbringing, because we're all brought up the same way, essentially, even in different countries and different times. We all get the same kind of conditioning, essentially. So what can you do? You can learn to change your thinking. And if you change your thinking, you change your feeling, and vice versa. Because how do you tell when you're thinking poorly? Awareness is the key. Yeah, if you think about it, how would you know if you're thinking negative?
Okay, by feelings.
Yeah, by your feeling, because you're sitting here and you go, oh, wow, gee, I feel bad for some reason. I don't know why.
So we experience
that would be the time to go, what am I thinking about? And you go, oh, I'm thinking about that time when I lost my job, or my romance partner broke up with me, or somebody, passed away. I mean, you're not thinking, wow, life is incredible. Because if you're thinking life is incredible, you're probably feeling incredible. So it's a great indicator to let us know if we're feeling less than glorious or glorious. Dog crap or diamonds, right? It's an indicator. So we can use our feelings. So the more we feel good, the more we feel better, the more we practice that, the more it becomes a habit. And here's the other thing. If you have one negative thought and you then feel bad, that feeling produces another negative thought. And then that produces another negative feeling. And then that produces another negative thought. So it tends to spiral down. But if you have a positive thought and you get a positive feeling, it produces another positive feeling, and another positive thought, and then another positive feeling, and then another positive thought, and then you spiral up. So if you change your thinking and your feeling, you transform your entire life. And you can learn to new behaviors. You can learn to change careers, going back to the question that you asked.
Yes.
Because instead of thinking you can't do it anymore, you start thinking I can do it. And if I can do it and it's possible, then what is it that I could do today that will get me closer to what I want to do tomorrow? And what kinds of things can I begin to start doing? So I may have to pick up a book and read. I may have to take a course. I may have to get a coach or a mentor. I may have to stop doing some things and start doing other things. But now you're starting to direct yourself. So Napoleon Hill, going back to him, he said, know your definite chief aim or purpose, make it a white hot obsession, really important to you. Develop the certainty. Certainty is what? It's a feeling that I am going to do this, not I will do it, hopefully, but I'm going to do it. It's that certainty. I will accomplish this. And then it's auto-suggestion, meaning you practice it correctly, repeatedly, long enough, and you persist. And then he said, start wherever you are, and wherever your feet are, just start. Know that you can do this, and then you're going to have to develop a plan for doing it. But you don't know what the plan is because you don't know how to do it. So maybe you know, the first thing is I got to go to the library, or I got to get on the computer and I got to find out how I break into this industry, or what I do. You know, how do I learn to juggle? I got to go find a juggler. I got to find a book on juggler, or watch something on YouTube. You know, and then I got to start practicing. He said, your plan will change along the way. You're going to adjust and continue all along the way. You'll never have the perfect plan to start with. So don't worry about the plan being perfect. Just start. What do 97% of the people do? And where do most people fail before they begin?
Okay.
Because they quit. They go, I want to do this, but it's not going to happen. I probably can't do it. And they don't do it. And they don't live their dreams. So they never go after them. So, but if you say, I can do it. So Henry Ford, going back, said another very important quote. He said, I never let what I cannot do stop me from doing what I can do.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? That's the most beautiful quote. And I'll tie this up with this. The Wright brothers, who created, you know, the first heavier than air flying machine, were bicycle manufacturers. They knew nothing about airplanes. They just started trying to build an airplane, right? And they had to study, and they had to figure out mechanics, and they had to figure out the principle of lift. In other words, they're working with gravity, and they don't know what lift is. We had balloons that could take people up, but they weren't machines, and they weren't heavier than air. You know, balloons had gas in them. So what did they have to do? They had to realize at some point, and they didn't know this, they discovered it, that the plane has to move fast enough in order and have the right shape to the wing and everything else, that the airflow creates this lift. And then once it creates the lift, it will go up. But if it doesn't ever reach that speed, it's never going to take off, you know, because my car doesn't fly, you know, because it doesn't have wings. It's not aerodynamically created to fly. And I can drive 100 and 200 miles an hour, and I'm still not going to take off unless you put certain things together with it, right? So the Wright brothers never knew how to fly until after they flew. They only were attempting to fly, experimenting to fly, trying to fly. They were failing constantly. And every time they failed, instead of quitting, and even their own dad said, give it up. You know, you guys are idiots. Everybody thinks you're stupid. You're never going to fly. You know, all the scientists go, you're never going to do this. It's done. You're stupid. Said, give it a rest. They said, we're going to keep doing this. And they kept doing it. And they kept adjusting and revising their plans and making changes to the machinery and to what they were doing until they took off. And then once they took off, they could reverse engineer it and go, whoa. No. And that's kind of how we work. That's how we get the law of attraction working for us. We do these things. We apply these things. We may not know what we're doing, but we're working with gravity, we're working with the law, and we have to do these things. We have to make adjustments until we get the knack of it. And when we get the knack of it, we go, I got it. Now it's easier to do. Now it becomes a good habit. And if you keep at it, you become unconsciously competent, or you get mastery at it. Now you get into that genius area of, wow, manifesting is easy. It's easy to do. That's what I do. I'm a manifester. I manifest good things. I have and me personally, I have manifested massive amounts of crap in my life, and bad things and terrible things. But I've also manifested some really incredible good stuff in my life, especially once I realized that I was responsible for all the crap. I said, okay, stop making crap happen. Enough already. Stop blaming everybody else for it and go, I'm the one doing this. So I'm going to change it. I'm not going to perpetuate that anymore. I'm going to live differently. And that's what I had to learn to. And I mean, I still have to remember to do that. You know, if it's going to be, it's up to me, is what someone once said. And that is the philosophy behind it. And you can't keep doing what you've always done, expecting it to be different, because you're going to get what you got if you keep doing what you did. And you're going to sit there going, how come nothing is changing? Well, if I keep traveling in a circle, I never get outside that circle. I'll keep going. How come I keep going around in a circle? Why does this horse keep coming back to the stable? How come I can't get anywhere? You haven't learned to direct the horse yet. So the program, what my work has always been about, is learn how to direct the horse, learn how to befriend your subconscious mind, stop criticizing, hating, hurting, harming yourself and other people, and live the life you truly deserve to live. Hence, live life on your terms. That doesn't mean you dictate for other people how they should live. It means that you start getting the things that you want to get because you've transformed yourself into the kind of person for whom getting them is easy. And if it's not easy, it's at least simple, because some things take more, it's just like anything. If you're going to cook a dinner for a lot of people, it may take a certain amount of time for everything to be right and be prepared. If you're going to put something in a microwave, it takes a lot less time. So depending on what it is you're working on, just know that time is part of that, but don't put it off for the future. Think, I can do this now. Use questions to direct your mind and really learn how to manage your feelings, and your life will transform.
Wow, beautiful. So, Alex, please, you're going to tell something.
Pardon me? Oh, I was just going to say,
are-
the other thing is this thing about self-blame, and it's really about learning how to release and let go and forgive. You know, to forgive other people, forgive circumstances, forgive your parents, forgive the world, forgive the government, forgive the church, forgive God, forgive whomever. Just release and let go. I often use this phrase that, 97% of the people travel as if they have worn every single piece of clothing they've ever had in their lifetime. And they're carrying all this stuff around, and you just got to kind of start taking it off, and letting it go and letting it fall and release it. And then when you get down to where you don't have any of this extra baggage, you're at like your authentic core. Now you're free and unencumbered to do the kinds of things that you want to do. So there's a process of release and let go and get unstuck and then move forward. So, and it's the thread that goes through everything I do, but it's an important part of that thread.
That's awesome. So, Rex, perhaps my last question for this interview.
Sorry, I can go on forever. I apologize.
No. Please, because I didn't want to stop. That was such a gold flowing on. So now I wanted to ask, what differentiates two people is their mindset. You have developed a program now which is trademarked, also like Mind Design, experience the most powerful mindset programming ever created. So could you please tell more about it? I'm more curious to know about one of your innovations.
Sure. Mind design is kind of like my umbrella program. In other words, it combines whole brain learning and meditation and accelerated learning and different components from different areas of, like I said, meditation or hypnosis, the idea of directed questions, the idea even of neurolinguistic programming. I ran my NLP program and all of my programs through Mind Design, because originally I had called it Life Design. And if you looked at the original Attitude Activator, it said part of the Life Design series. But in terms of trademarking it, because we were a field of mental health categorized in the trademark, and somebody in the area of physical health already had Life Design, we couldn't trademark it. So I went, okay, well, let's try Mind Design. It exemplifies it, but my point was, and now everybody goes Life by Design or this by design or whatever. So the idea of Mind Design is that you should have a beautiful mind. You should be living a beautiful life. And the notion is how do you make the inside of you sumptuous, beautiful, wonderful? A lot of people have voices that rag on themselves and that are debilitating or hurtful or harmful. They visualize things going wrong instead of things going right. They struggle to make changes. And what I wanted to show people was that change can be fun and can be easy. It can be a lot more playful. We tried for a long time to call our seminars play shops, but nobody understood what that meant. They go, what's a play shop? Especially the corporate world is play shop. Don't you take anything serious? I go, well, we're learning deep things in the attitude of play, because as I said earlier, if as a child, you learn more stuff through play. So, and the notion of novelty, for example, what are the things that your viewers can do to add novelty into their life? If you add too much novelty at one time, it'd be overwhelming for the brain. The brain would go, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's kind of like if I parachuted you into some jungle blindfolded and you woke up and you were surrounded by tigers, you go, this is too much novelty, all right? And that's what happens for some people. But because we're such creatures of habit, we have one hand that is dominant versus the other. Some people are ambidextrous. We have one eye that's dominant. We have one foot that is dominant. So people kick a soccer ball with one foot versus the other. But they learn, some people learn to use both. So how can you add in some novelty? Well, if you always eat with your right hand, start eating with your left hand. If you shave with your left hand, start shaving with your right hand, but carefully.
Yeah.
If you shower top down, shower bottom up. In other words, change things around. If you sleep with your head at the head of the bed with the pillow, put your pillow at the foot of the bed. or lay across the bed. One of the reasons why people say, I can't sleep if it's not my bed, is because there's such a creature of habit that they go to a hotel, it's a different bed, a different environment, and they go, I can't sleep, I was awake all night, or the bed wasn't right. So if you start varying how you sleep and where you sleep, you can sleep anywhere. Take a different route to work or play or to school. Take a different route back. Learn things that you wouldn't normally learn. Learn a new language, learn to play an instrument, learn to play a different kind of board game or a physical game like basketball or tennis or soccer or football or whatever, or take up chess. Do things that you don't normally. In my workshops, you would see these people, because we had a 100-acre retreat that had big hills and ponds and lakes and things. You'd see people, I'd go out and roll down a hill. When's the last time you rolled down a hill or spun around in a circle like a whirling dervish, or like what children do? Most of us as adults, when we get to be a certain age, unless you do yoga or some form of gymnastics, nobody stands on their head anymore. Nobody does somersaults or cartwheels. This is how most people live. They're either this way, or sitting this way, right? They don't go upside down. Going upside down is really important for the vestibular system in your inner ear. So rolling down a hill, doing somersaults. They actually came up with a bed not many years ago, but that tilts below the horizon, where they would put people on it as a therapeutic bed for people to actually get the fluid in the inner ear moving, because the hairs in the ear and the inner fluids tends to get static or hardened kind of thing. So by gently putting a person underneath on a bed that literally goes like this, they're training the inner ear and the vestibular system to be more active and to heal again. We don't do those things, but mind design was that kind of thing. Learn how to dance, learn how to laugh. We would do laughing meditation morning and night, which primarily I learned from Osho, in the late 70s, early 80s, where we would every morning at like 5 o'clock in the desert be laughing for an hour, which people thought at the time was stupid. Why would you laugh for an hour? Because if you look at the work of Bernie Siegels and Norman Cousins and all the great healers and the people that discovered it, laughter, you are your most authentic when you laugh, because it's an involuntary response. You are oxygenating your system. You're creating more carbon dioxide. You are completely off balance. If you really have a belly laugh, I can pretty much come and push you over without much difficulty, because all of your programs are suspended while this involuntary thing takes over. How do you do laughter meditation? You start by voluntarily laughing, by going, ha, 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 ha. If you do it with a few of other people, after a little while, you look at each other and you're laughing, and the laughter mechanism starts to take over, and then you genuinely laugh. If you could laugh every morning for 5 minutes or smile more, just the act of smiling releases brain chemicals that make you feel good. And most people frown more than they smile. It's just a natural way that they hold their face. So smile more, laugh more, allow yourself to get your body moving. Mind design is about having a whole experience of feeling wonderful, inside and outside and up and down and back and forth and, and left to right, the whole thing. It's use your entire brain and your body in order to again, make the kind of changes and live your life the way you want. Because when it's all said and done, it's about having the kind of experience you want. And Michael Workington, who is, a quadriplegic, he's still alive, he still does incredible work, said, life is too short to not be having fun. And I just met Michael this year, so I mean, but he's been paralyzed, a quadriplegic since he was 22. And he's like, I'm going to make sure that every day is a beautiful day, and I'm going to help make it a beautiful day for somebody else. And that's what my work has always been about. And that's what my design or my NLP programs or my book, is totally about. It's about how do you have the kind of life that you want. So life on your terms, the subtitle is create the life you want. And that's what I help people do. And I've been doing it for close to 42 years now with really good success. I'm really pleased with the people. And the other thing is many people who I've trained or who have come to me do far greater things than I could ever do, or they made far more money than I could ever make, or they get, they become, not everyone, of course, but I'm just saying that the goal of any teacher or instructor is to have the students do better than they do. It's like to have my kids do better than me.
Yeah.
So you want to pass the torch. It's not so that's what.
Thank you very much, Rex. And I like your metaphors like horse, all the other metaphors, how you beautifully connected, and it really gave the feel that it also made me like, wow, so beautiful. I couldn't think of that. So thank you very much for joining the dots and giving all the required information, Rex. It was wonderful talking to you, and
Thank you.
thank you once
Oh,
again.
and may I add something, just
Please,
because we
please.
talked about the book and things like that. If people have my book or they want to get the book, I mean, it's available at Amazon. But I would love to give your viewers, an added bonus, which is what I'm giving away for people who have the book. I held up the hardcover book. It's also available in paperback. But if they go to, if they see it on the screen, rexsikes.com, right? I think that my name is there. /book, BOOK. It will say, go to Amazon and buy the book, and there'll be a link, if you already have it. What you do is you get your receipt code and you bring it back to my website and you put it in a special place. All the instructions are right there at rexsikes.com /book. Put it in there and you'll get access to a free training. It's been valued at $497. It's on the mastery loop. It's a lot of what we've talked about. It's not everything we've talked about, but it's a lot about what we talked about. And it will help. I mean, you read the book, but it's what I can give to somebody else who doesn't know me or doesn't know my work, who wants to take themselves to the next level and understand how they can begin to acquire things easier, faster, and with more fun. So that's a bonus. It's free. There's also at the website, my programs and courses, but there's another free audio that they can find. They sign up to a newsletter, things like that. But I'd love to have them join me in programs, but if they,
Thank you very much.
they can get the book or whatever they choose. So.
Wonderful. I'm gonna give the link in the YouTube description and also on the social media where I posted, so that people can go through that link and avail the bonuses as well. Right.
That's fantastic. You've been awesome. You've asked such wonderful questions, and I'm so grateful that we've gotten to know each other in more recently. But it's really wonderful. I love your posts on social media. So I'm really happy to be part of this. Thank you.
I loved your energy. Didn't even realize that we have passed 1 hour plus. So thank you once again, Rex. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you. And I would be looking forward to staying in touch in the future, and I'll be watching for the social media. I mean, this is great. You're a wonderful person, and I consider you a friend. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rex. Thank you very much.